What's going on, guys? And this your hostess with the mostest, Anomalycyra, coming back at it with another mind theory for your mind. Well, we're back at it again, trying to fix this freaking engine. You know, it's hard work working all out here by yourself, floating around the planet, and you're not really sure when you're gonna come back home, but you gotta do what you gotta do to see that big blue marble in the sky. So, today I had an idea. I was thinking about a couple episodes back, I had an idea about the Hermetic circle, and I wanted to talk about it in a way of how I saw it, so I guess we're going to go through my own filters and behaviors and see if you have some fun with it too. So in my own view, I didn't read this anywhere, so this is just something I'm thinking. So we are the Hermetic circle, right? So we are whole, but we're made of parts. So what do I mean? We're molecules and atoms and electrons and all these tiny, tiny little parts, and they all vibrate together and give the illusion of a solid form, right? So we understand the basis of that. Or at least I know that, my listeners understand the basis of that. I don't know if you can even have this type of conversation with your average person in the, our little earth of right now. But I know some of you exist there, so this is why I don't mind radioing back home. Gives me a position of comfort. While I'm in the engine room, I thought, why not? So if you think of yourself as the parts that make you and the whole that you are, it starts to become confusing. Because if you think of yourself in a linear way, where there is a part of you that has began and then will finish, for here we call that being born and then being dead. Or as I like to, I have a very dark sense of humor, so I like saying hatching your skeleton. Really, you form this chrysalis around yourself in the womb. You appeared here, and now you have all these vibrating dots that can't wait to devour the rest of you. It's like a self-destruct ship at any moment when you don't eat. Let's look at it that way. When you get hungry, what's happening? Now, in the very literal sense, we know what's happening. But let's look a little deeper. Let's go under the surface, right? If you don't eat, your body will begin to eat you. Heart, liver, kidneys. That stomach acid you're walking around with inside of you will turn against you after a while. And you will slowly devour yourself. Ask anyone with an eating disorder or who's anorexic. You will start to eat yourself if you don't feed it. Very much so like someone who has mental health. So we're taught that the brain is you. You are the brain. But in my point of view, and that's only all I offer, my specific filter that I believe is unique to myself based on the life experiences I've had, the positions of life and death I've gone through, and even having a death certificate before I had a birth certificate. Remembering anything like that. Having a different set of consciousness within your genius mind. It's not isolating because I know other geniuses. That's who you guys are. But when you go into the outside world, there seems to be a type of get along that forms. Now, this could be a pattern you've decided, a behavior, Now, for me, I'm lucky enough to come from a time, or not something I would like to say innocent times, but where there was enough of a bubble for long enough before it was drastically shattered and torn to pieces. But there was definitely a moment in time from birth to maybe pubescent days, teenage time frame, where I had the opportunity of being within a bubble of innocence and naivete, as they might call it, something in this area. Now, coming from that, going into an area of traveling the world and meeting different personalities and having true isolation and being alone, and, it wasn't something too far from what I had known before, because even in that area of being like a smaller kid and having siblings, having a huge side of my dad's family, I still was a loner in a lot of the specific memories and ideas that I have. And that's kind of just something that happened. Now, what I'd like to say from that is that from this, wrapping back down to the point, the Hermetic circle. So for me, there are parts that build and form and mix to make that whole, which is why I always think it's very specific and very important for me, for my bloodline, for my specific type of hue, shall we say, that I am very clear about what I believe and what I think, and that the ideas I feel and think should exist in the world. But in no way do I push them upon the world, right? I allow things to be the air and whimsy that they are. Because with one simple breath, an idea can be gone. Wouldn't you agree? I would. But then again, I'm not a seeking conflict type of person. So I may see things with a more rosier glass, as they say. But through my search, and it is a continuous search that I know I will be on and continue to be on even after I leave this realm of existence. I don't think something being a search stops it from being relevant or being something that must happen or will happen. I think your journey and your process and all of these words are circles, even though they sound like lines. So you may think of yourself as this baby who grew up and is now an adult with these responsibilities and these things to do and places to go. No matter what's going on now, you may still have this process of, what do I do next? You must be in a doing and a doing, or you're doing the opposite, where you must be in a not doing and a not doing. Either way, there's this process, but there are patterns. And the more you start to focus on what the little patterns are, what the little pieces are, and what they mean as a whole, and what they mean separate from each other, you may start to understand a concept or a particular problem that you're having. These are definitely things that I use in my own life. So when I see some things like, I don't really see things that way, but for the sake of this conversation, to play a little bit of devil's advocate. So if you're having a problem or you're going through something complex, whatever that may be, usually the things I like to focus on are those things we don't really talk about. We don't tell anyone. The struggles we have on the inside, that one moment you may have had with your mother, or a conversation you didn't get to have with your father, or you're still waiting to have, or, maybe that younger sibling who died too soon, or the real stuff, the things, people who could be the closest people in the world to you, and they have no idea. Those things. And understand that coming from someone like me, I am a Pisces, I'm not totally crazy into it, but I like to have fun with it, of course, because that's what I think existence is. When they try to say that this is a type of simulation, I want to crack that open a little bit. It's not, but in this way, you could say when you eat food is a type of simulation, because once you look at the food, you've imagined the food, then you eat it, and it's inside of you. It becomes something else. So you're not walking around with a salad inside of you, right? It's become iron and B vitamin, and then the rest of it gets separated into whatever liquids, you know where those go, the solids, we know where those go, and whatever else it could take from it absorbs into your stomach lining, goes into your blood system, da 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 da. For our doctors who are listening, I may have skipped one step or put one before the other. Please forgive me. For those in the scientific field, or if you're just having fun listening, that's pretty much it. It's a lot more fun when you get to know all of the stages. I will say that. I was actually watching this one video when it was talking about trying to explain quantum physics to a 5-year-old, to a teenager, to someone in high school possibly, someone in college, and then someone a lot older. And the complexity, that's mostly what I saw from it, was the complexity just went up. It went from a simple thing of you have an atom and now you don't, to there's an intelligence inside of this dark matter, and just way more. And I think that gives an example of what this is. So you hear of the one pebble starts a ripple, right? So you're thinking of yourself as everything. You're always everything. You're never separate from anything. The parts make the whole, right? So you're the pebble, you're the water, you're the ripple, you're the vibration, you're the sunlight on the water. Whatever this vision looks like for you while you're looking at it. I get so excited about this stuff. I'm so sorry. I talk so fast. I hope everyone can understand what I'm saying. So for you though, and for me, this is what I think your true existence is. We are the pebble, or a seed, sprouting into that river and growing out of the water and walking and becoming this walking tree. Now, in this way, we developed our consciousness, and now we have global rituals and duties, and it's so, if you could see it the way that I see it, like this is the thing about existing for a really long time, you start feeling like a proud parent, like this is a very young civilization. I think it's just one of those things where you haven't been around that long. So whoever's listening, you haven't been here longer than 100 years. If I have information from you for you from thousands of years ago, you may not have this. It may not have the same gravitas that something that happened yesterday would have for you. But you could take my word from it, or maybe you won't want to, and either one is okay. Remember all acceptance here. Allowance, really, because all things will exist, must exist, have existed, and again and again and again. And these processes sound biblical, or a lot of people, well, one of the things I hear when I speak, some people might say, is I either sound, which makes me laugh actually, so I either sound like a motivational video, that's some of my friends, or I could start sounding kind of biblical, which there are 4 different translations. I also understand that it is a translation, so if you're not reading something in the core language it was written in, you're already missing like 50%, and it's just a hard road to go down. So I try not to really cross that path, but I've done my reading across a lot of places, and no, I don't take it as a position to follow or worship anything. And I don't make myself my own God, but I definitely I love books, but I don't make books my God. The God that I know, I don't think anyone knows. So I know the unknown God. More like how, might be strange to hear it this way, but more like an Odin figure, or, which, I know, it could be, I'm not Norwegian, but, life takes you down certain paths, certain travels, certain evidences, and I know this is going to sound strange, but this raven started following me, and I didn't have a scary feeling. I wasn't upset. I wasn't scared. I actually felt protected. Now, I know what it may seem like it's just a bird or something like this, but maybe some of our more Scandinavian inclined listeners may understand what it means to feel the protection of a raven. But if you don't, Odin had two ravens. And now some of these stories, they sound so familiar. It's a really strange thing. I don't know why these feel so familiar to me. Like, even all the way back when I was a lot younger, like I would say probably I grew up in a European neighborhood, so I've known about a lot of different, cultures and stuff. I know about, like, in Ireland, of the Celtic cross. Like, I was born Catholic, so you end up learning about all of those. It's different. Like, some people won't understand that, but there's a huge umbrella under just oh my gosh, there's like a huge umbrella under it. So you can't really just say, I believe this, and then that's it. You have to go into like a whole thing. And right now, I'm trying to get in the Hermetic circle. So we'll wrap back to that in another episode. But it's definitely a lot of exciting stuff there that I think should be talked about more and should be promoted more and should definitely get, movies and freaking information, not against one thing or the other, because I'm definitely like a God Jesus person, but I don't agree with like anyone. It's so strange. So I'm making up my own beliefs. I have my own books. I have my own theories, my own thoughts. I may be the only person who thinks by themselves, which is why I'm on the edge of a planet. I'm floating by myself. It doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. I'm telling you. But you know what? You don't have to believe anything that I said. You don't have to do anything. I'm not telling you to do anything. This is the blessing of having this ability. I get to share ideas, we get to talk, and we're like old friends just catching up over some nice tea. And I made it with a kettle. Because they're dried herbs and they need boiling hot water and not tepid whatever happens here. There's something, it's a weird thing that I'm kind of like British in my mind. We're like all over the place. This is what happens when you travel too much, I think. Back when I wasn't vegan, and I was a meat eater, and I had something, I'm trying to like remember, where was I? Was it Norway? There's a fish, and it has or it could have been Germany. Now it's starting to blend together. There were beers, there's some apple beer thing that just did me in, and I'm not a drinker. So I don't drink. No reason why. It just doesn't taste very nice. I'm a water person, which is, I don't know, is that a thing? I just like water. I like ice water. It's like the best drink in the world. I really don't, maybe with a little bit of lemon sometimes, if I want to feel fancy, like a cucumber, and then I'm doing like so much, and I just feel like I'm really like special that day. But yeah, that's about it. But other than that, oh yeah, just a water person. So yeah, so I tried some of this apple beer in Frankfurt, and I decided, I wanted to take a trip by myself. Most of the stuff is by myself because I'm definitely a lone wolf. I don't have a big girl group. Never was really into that. Tried that in high school. It was great. But there was this shift. I guess it was a paradigm shift or a psychological shift, or I got really focused on my career, and I just started thinking about legacy and what I wanted to leave behind and taking care of my parents, or not that they need my help. Like, my parents are rich, I need their help more than I'm going to help them. But, it was nice that I had a sweet goal. Something like that. Still working on it. But I thought, well, at least if I could get the yacht and do something like that, then it's about how many people you're helping. So it's not about the material thing, because who cares? But it's about now what I'll be able to do and all of the amazing things and ideas that I'll be able to actually create. That's really just the most beautiful gift that I've been able to even give myself. Now, I'm making over my apartment in the middle of everything being crazy, but you don't want to have to do the sacrifices someone's had to do to get where they are. We know in the reality and the real world and stuff, yeah, I have my own place and I live alone and I'm doing kind of okay for myself, and I can't wait to keep doing better, and that's really good. But in the other side of myself, I have this whole other, process of me, which is very probably a workaholic or something, I would say. And I definitely have never had a lazy day in my life. I'm like a military brat, so I definitely like neat structure, plans, organization, you know. Even in the middle of this, I'm in the middle of a 10-year plan that I started back in my, you know, we're not going to say when, but like back a couple of years ago, I started a 10-year plan of what I was going to do. And it's unveiling in front of me. Well, I was born without the veil, so there's a lot that I can see. And if you'd have to understand the veil, I'd have to teach you about it a little. And just because you're from a place, I'll have to put that in there too. I don't think just because you're from a place or you're in the place that you know what I mean. Like you may be Norwegian, but you have no idea about Odin. And I get that. Or maybe you're Orthodox Catholic. I mean, sometimes I go to the Ukrainian church. I'm not Ukrainian either. So it's just about what message feeds to you. So I'm multicultural. So I pick from some of my cultures. I see some of the different ones, you know. I'm enjoying being this hybrid, and this is kind of the gift of it. It has some downsides. I've gone through a lot of things for that too, but I always focus on the good. You know, life has been really like a gift, and it's such a beautiful thing just to be here. This is the show. So if there are fourth dimensional creatures, there are fifth dimensional forms of ourselves. They're not creatures. I think they're just us in a different dimension. I mean, if you look at your shadow, is that not your one-dimensional self? But do you look at your shadow and think that it has a whole, not to make myself laugh, but do you think your shadow has like a whole empire where it's like running a dark world? Or is it just a reflection of you and light? You're made of material, and when the light, it bounces through you a little bit slower, creates those darker spots, and that to your eyes looks like a shadow. Are shadows really even shadows? Is anything even what it really is? Or are we just agreeing to call it things? But really everything is a thing, a this or a that. That's really what anything is, which is where language came from. Now we gave all these extra words to things, and it's a beautiful way for us to connect. And I just end up being grateful about it, you know? So, with that, we're living in a circle. We're living in cycles. Those cycles swirl up, they swirl down, left to right, in directions that we don't even have access to because we can only think in 3 dimensions. That's what you are. You are a circle. You are a beautiful, lovely circle with many different realms and loops and waves, and even smaller and smaller. Those circles have even smaller circles, and then those circles, even smaller circles. It's like what they think with the black hole. When you look inside of it, there's probably another galaxy with another black hole. That probably has another galaxy with another black hole. That, guess what, probably has another universe that has another black hole. So everything repeats. Everything repeats. When you look at a tree, it goes up. You get leaves, they fall down, and then they die, and then they come back. That's not a straight line. That's a circle. And the leaf is nothing without the tree. The tree is nothing without the leaf. The parts make the whole. You understand? Okay. So that was a really good touch on it. And then we'll come back to more of it because I'm just like totally obsessed with this thing. I like finding fun little, this is just like maybe some like nerd brain sauce I like to do. So maybe you could do that too. Nerd brain sauce. That's what I'll call my cucumber lemon distilled water. So I only drink distilled medical grade water. I don't drink tap water. You've heard me say that 100 times before. I know. But I'm just kind of trying to get that out there. Maybe somebody might want to actually try that themselves. You never know. I think you know what? Today I got everything off of my mind. I always try to keep into something manageable because I never know what everyone else has going on. You know, maybe just want to pop one of these in and then go to sleep. I don't want to keep you up all night. I want you to get some rest. So I'm going to close this one out. But I like where this is going. I think in our next episode, I want to talk to you a little bit more about my travels. I'm not really sure, but it seems like you like some of just the personal stories. I have had some experiences. First of all, I've had so many different jobs, trying to find myself, web designer, fashion stylist. I was even a curvy model for a while. I mean, I worked for MTV, I worked for Disney. Like, I can go kind of down the list. Not really long, because once I know something doesn't work right, I just leave. And I was young, so it's not like I had the blessing and the privilege to have a father who could, probably be there if I wasn't able to keep myself together, which was the gift, not one that I lean on now. So it's really good. It's about growing up and maturing and being kind of driven once you find what your purpose is. Now I found my goal and purpose. So now these are just fun experiences that I get to share with all of you. And that's going to be like really fun, because like I've had some great times somewhere. I hear a lot of, I don't know, maybe there's just grumpy people in the world. I think there are grumpy people, and then there are happy people. And no one had to make you that way. You might just be that way. And you know what? That's okay. Because when we watch Snow White and we see Grumpy, I'm never angry at him. I just want to give him a big hug and show him that it's okay. Right? So that's okay. And then we all love like the happy ones and stuff, because then we want to join them and be really happy with them. I mean, I don't want to say like that's who I would be, but I don't really remember anyone else's name, so I'd have to be that one. I'm kind of just always in a good mood, and I've had people come up to me and I'm not really sure what to say in those moments. Like they'll say, I really love that you're always happy. And it's like, well, like I have anxiety, PTSD. I don't do that. Like I don't do that list or anything, but this is just between me and you, of course. So, but I'm always like, well, I don't know if it's that I'm always happy. It's just kind of put my best foot forward. And usually if you look for something, you can find a reason to be really happy that day. And I think that's worthwhile. And on that note, I want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back. And I can't wait to talk to you some more, This has been Anomalycyra. Back at it with another mind theory for your mind. Until then, bye.